today I want to have a look at this super cheap cross-country bike that's in this box. Now, I know that if you guys are anything like me, that there's a good chance that you buy stuff as cheap as you possibly can and do whatever you can for the least amount of money to make it look a little more pro. That's pretty much the description of every single one of the bikes that I own, so I'm pretty good at it. This bike is like $500 new. It's not particularly good looking out of the box, so we're going to build it and I'm going to show you what I do to it to make it look slightly better for, well, not a lot of money. Is that making a lot of noise? I should probably turn that off. It's kind of hot anyway. There. So let's build this bike. With these can go in the garbage. And I can't play basketball. And there you have it, your $500 beginner entry-level cross-country bike. This thing may as well be a hybrid of sorts. It uses 29-inch wheels, but the tires are so skinny that you may as well consider this thing something that someone would rather commute on than do any sort of real mountain biking on. And that's sort of a shame because there is a lot of potential here. You just kind of have to have the right eye for it. None of the parts are particularly amazing, but it's not something you need to worry about too much because it's something that you can sort of pick away at a little bit. But the whole point of this video is how can you make it look and feel a little more pro for little to no money on maybe the day of purchase. So the first thing I do with any bike that I buy new is to take the stem, make sure it's flipped into the down position, and for good measure, it's got to be totally slammed. These bikes, I can't really cut the steer tube in this video, but I would immediately be cutting all of that steer tube off. I mentioned how small these tires are. I don't really know why Apollo ships it with such a small 29er tire. They say they're 2 inches wide, but they pretty much measure, but they measure 1.65 inches wide, which is absolutely brutal to even look at. So it's one of the things that you're going to need to address almost immediately. So get yourself a set of, well, larger 29er tires. However, if you're going to make that kind of purchase, try and find yourself something that's either tubeless compatible or tubeless ready, because that's probably going to be one of the next upgrades that you really want to make. Depending on what bike shop built the bike, there's a good chance that they really didn't do a whole lot of stuff to make sure that the brake levers are set up quite right. And while that's somewhat subjective, there is something to be said about having the brake levers a little bit farther in on the bars so that you're not using 4 fingers to pull the lever. Another thing that maybe a shop may or may not do that won't actually affect the look of the bike itself is ensure that the wheels are properly tensioned up to the highest safe tension so that they're as strong and stiff as they should be, along with making sure that they're as true as they can be. The same can be said about the preload on the bearings in the hub. They are shipped usually a little bit too tight, and it should be something that you or your shop has a look at and makes sure that they are at the proper preload so that the hub turns freely and smoothly. Most competitive cross-country racers will ditch that rubber grip out for a silicone foamy grip from numerous different brands. I personally use some cheap ones, so that can be something that's at the top of your list of small and cheap upgrades that you can make to your low-end cross-country mountain bike. If you're going to be somewhat serious about riding these types of bike in the woods or on the trails, then I really recommend going to a pedal that isn't plastic with reflectors in it, and that's kind of what I threw on this particular bike, just to give an idea. If you're thinking about doing any sort of racing, then clipless would be the way to go. So there you go. There's some of my own probably bad advice on how to turn this thing into this. I think that you'll agree with me that it looks significantly better and it's worth doing. Not that it really costs you a whole lot of money, maybe a set of tires and some grips, that's really it. So you don't have to spend a whole lot of money more. If anything, the bike is going to look a lot better and you're going to want to go out and ride it quite a bit more. So anyway, that's how I get my new bikes looking and feeling a little bit better than they do when they first come out of the box.